What's up, boyos? Time to watch some Joyo. I'm not proud of that intro, but we're keeping it. We're actually rocking with what's his name in this one? Goyo, after he teamed up with Goffs in one of the 2v2 tournaments as the mechanical menace. The Englishman Joe Young is going to get us on the board here quickly, and I actually have hit too many. Let's bring back the some of the info here for the scoreboard and whatnot. We're playing against Luna Galaxy. This is the Shift Summer League, the European side of the bracket. And Oxygen have been cooking, let me tell you. They're 11-1, and they lost their first series to Endpoint. And I got to be honest, it was kind of one of those things where I watched the first series. Like, that was the one that I tuned into out of all the games that were going on simultaneously. And I said, man, this Oxygen team just does not get it. They have all the talent. They have all of these mechs, and they just don't get it. They don't flow well together, and I could not have been more wrong. They clearly have figured something out pretty special here, and we're going to talk a little bit about what I think are some of the ingredients to that secret sauce. And we're seeing it here already with how lightning quick Oxygen get up here, as this play is going to fall apart after a bit of a demo here, but here they come once again, taking on this Luna Galaxy team who, if you haven't been keeping up with the event, they actually started out without AcroniK, and they were playing with CRR, so they were doing a little mixed action, a little Luna Galaxy times complexity, and halfway through they just opted to say, hey, we're going full boat with the roster that we ran last season, and they brought AcroniK on, and they look really good, especially AtomiK with a K, who deserves his own video. He's somebody who I've always been really impressed by on the field, on the pitch, that is. I feel like he seems like... did somebody just leave? What just happened? Did you guys see that? Okay, we're restarting. But yeah, AtomiK deserves his own video. But we're here to talk about Joyo, who has had kind of a roughshod... a bit of an existence here over the last couple of seasons. I remember all the way back to the Team Queso days. We just recently did a video about Rise, talking about that Rise Joyo MtzR squad. Joyo's talent was undeniable, and still is. If you're unfamiliar with the origin story, he actually started out as a freestyler, as I understand it, and then was just so talented that he moved his way into the ranks of some of these top teams and has ended up having a storied career for himself. But he is still, you know, trying to prove that he is better than the sum of... he is a better individual player than just being on some great teams. Of course, playing alongside Rise and Vatira, who are on their own Carmine Core squad now, is something that certainly vaulted his career. And it seemed like for a second, whether it was true or not, all the way back to them winning the spring major over Team Falcons a couple seasons ago, Joyo won MVP, and his talent just felt undeniable. He felt like the next big thing, one of the best things since sliced bread, as it were, and a little bit of an errant touch on defense there is going to even the scoring. But teams have not really gelled around Joyo at every stop. You know, stayed with the Moist organization for quite a few iterations. We had Juicy come through, Cash came through, Oli, if I remember correctly, Rezi was part of the squad there for a second, and I'm definitely leaving out players, but for brevity's sake, Joyo has had the opportunity to have a lot of talent around him, and different types of talent as well. You know, Rezi is more of a off-ball, doesn't need a lot of boost, which allows Joyo to kind of get out and do his thing and be a lead striker. But as we've seen with this Oxygen squad, who are finally starting to figure things out, Joyo is actually more of a his highest the skill that is being utilized most often, especially on the stat sheet, is his ability to pass the ball. And he's kind of an off-ball as far as like shot attempts and whatnot goes, a secondary player to Oski in a lot of ways. But even that doesn't do it justice. So actually Archie leads this team in the Shift Summer League in shots, and then Joyo is very close behind him. Oski's actually third highest on the team in shots, which you would not anticipate, as getting cut out here as Oxygen is trying to tie things up here. Nice little passing play in the middle, gets cut out by Tox, and hopefully they can track back and keep this one out. But with them creating so many shots, generating so many opportunities, upping the pace, being incredible on the ball, playmakers, making it challenging for defense to read what they're trying to do, they kind of just create these pockets of space for Joyo, or even incredible, upfield touches like that to create goals. They are using their mechanics to create easy goals, and that is something that they lacked previously. With all of their offensive talent, he's going to leave this one. I remember this play from some of the highlight reels. I didn't know I chose this game here. Watch, Joyo gets up, is going to fake the second touch on this, leave it. Oski with a perfect pass, just a soft little touch right onto Archie's hood to end it here, as Mr. Goyo here, Francisco Goyo, is going to get a goal, an assist, 2 saves on 5 shots to his name. And that's what we were just talking about, to kind of put a dot on that point there. Joyo is generating a ton of shots, but a lot of them are for the purposes of buttering up the defense so that his teammates can finish off of what he is creating. And Joyo is one of the most gifted players in the entire world in generating good opportunities, getting on the ball, handily beating one, beating a second, or putting them in a treacherous position on defense. So let's go over to another game here against Saudade, a pretty solid pickup team here for the SSL tournament, and talk a little bit more about how Joyo has evolved and meshed with this Oxygen roster. Champions Field for a big game 5 against Saudade, which has some up-and-coming talent. Rysfox, who played for Solary, is that correct? Alongside KDOP, that just sounds so familiar. Was it KDOP and Shawset? Maybe I'm totally out of bounds on remembering that team. MtzR is another up-and-coming talent who's been getting some publicity recently. And of course, Saizen, formerly of quite a few rosters, but probably most notably his time on Vitality pre-Zen, when it was himself, Radosin, and Mr. 54. And we find ourselves in a game 5 here. This Saudade roster has been pretty competitive, and Oxygen also are very comfortable with taking series late. They seem to be kind of unmoored by, or excuse me, unmoored would be the negative. They are not deterred by getting into deep series. Oski, Joyo, Archie have all been in a bunch of huge series over their careers, so they are unfazed, is probably the word I was looking for first, by these big moments here. And we see Joyo really kind of opening it up, very wide spacing here by Oxygen, who, they are okay to go for those kind of big stretching plays like we saw there. The high level, high difficulty mechanical plays is probably the way that they think about it. Is even if we don't convert these, we are at least showing the defense that they need to be wary of them. And this is a dangerous spot here by Joyo, who tried to wait for that mid boost. It did not spawn, and I would not be shocked if they give up a goal here as it's floating. Here comes Saizen. Great save by Archie off a pretty lame shot. Saizen on the dominance, and then here goes Joyo. Tries to get the musty, and is just creating chaos here in transition, as Oski's going to get blocked out, but we keep possession until Archie's bumped off the ball. That's a couple that have gone over Joyo's head, putting his defense into a pretty tough spot. Great save here. This is end-to-end Rocket League, as it looks like this one is finally going to kind of come to a bit of a close here. But no, we still keep going. Joyo gets up nice and early for that one. Big 50. Tries to get up a second time, gets a bump on Saizen, and we are really flying here for game 5. Typically you see teams really kind of sit back and try and be more calculated, wait for a blunder by the other team, but not in this matchup. We are going 110 miles an hour from end to end. I felt like when Oxygen were struggling, especially at the end of the RLCS season, it seemed as though Joyo was trying to be deferential to his teammates, something that he did when Moist had first lost Vatira, and they kind of tried to use Ryze as that primary action. They had run a couple different iterations, but I'm thinking primarily to Astral. That was still at a point in Astral's career where he was an incredible offensive talent. We had seen him light the world on fire at the World Championship on Carmine Core a couple seasons back. Of course, he's done a lot of winning back in the day for a lot of legacy European talent. But Joyo was kind of the one who decided to take a back seat. He figured he would try and steer the ship proverbially from the back, let his teammates create upfield. Joyo would keep boost and kind of be the finisher and use his mechs to keep the offense going and kind of bail his team out of tough positions going backwards. But I felt like that was not the best use of Joyo's talents, and that ended up playing itself out. They end up eventually moving on to Rezi, who was somebody who is really okay, even with all his mechanics, to play off ball. And we really saw, the Joyo of old, where constantly in the highlight reels, constantly going for the craziest stuff you've ever seen. And he has the talent to do it, as he is really going to put the defense in a bind here, unable to generate enough force on it to make it dangerous. But again, like I was saying in the last video, high volume of shots for him, definitely playing a lot more upfield, and it seems like Oxygen are kind of finding ways to gel with one another better now than they had previously. Of course, we're missing a ton of the big talent in this tournament. We have no Vitalities, no Gentlemates, no Carmine Cores that are kind of hanging out and participating in the SSL. But this is exactly the result you would want from Oxygen with those teams not here. They are absolutely dominating. They are not losing to talent that is below them. They're getting the opportunity to still be in big games like this Game 5 that we see here. And it's looking like we're probably going to find overtime unless there's a crazy finish here, as Joyo started out the game having a couple balls float over his head, but gets up quick defensively for that one. And this is why you sign Joyo, for moments like this. Big Game 5, overtime, golden goal territory. Let's see what they're able to produce. It was interesting to see Oski move his way from Liquid onto this roster. It's kind of like he's a better talent than this, but it reminds me of like when Jeremy Grant decided to go to the Detroit Pistons, where he was on the Nuggets, and it's like, do you not want to win? And he was like, no, I just want an opportunity to, be a -- option here. And that's kind of what it felt like with with Oski, where he just kind of wanted the ability to have his own team, as it were, and they have slowly built it up around him. It kind of seemed like Archie was in a bit of a tough spot, where maybe what he brought to the table wasn't what they were looking for. I thought, hey, Joyo is playing way too much defense for this roster, which is not the best use of what he can do on the ball. Maybe you need somebody who is more of a defensive rock to kind of be alongside them, a Vatira light, if you will. There's only one Vatira. But they have opted against that. They've actually gone for just, hey, we're just going to outshoot you, we're going to out-offense you, and even if it gets into tough moments, we believe in our mechs enough to make defensive stands when necessary. So they have kind of zigged when everybody else is zagging, where it kind of feels like you need that defensive presence, and then maybe one primary creator with an off ball. But no, that is not the direction they have gone here, which is to kind of diminish what Joyo can bring defensively. There's a reason why he has taken on kind of a backseat role on a couple of teams here. He definitely has the ability to be great defensive, but he is going to take a backside demo to the face there, which is going to put the team in a tough spot. Gets bumped out of his mind here, but Oxygen are looking to stabilize. Here we go in transition. Joyo with the redirect. That's the tough part about this Oxygen team. You have to be so wary, so respectful of every single ball. You got to get up quick. You cannot take your time, which ultimately will yield them more offense, where sometimes even if there's nobody from Oxygen who is there, you are so used to them rotating quickly and staying close to the ball that you kind of force it. And you just punt sometimes and turn the ball over even when you don't have to. And even if they are going to miss, that's something that I've talked about in previous videos where Oxygen really like to send the first man to just kind of challenge, try and get dunks as you try and, you know, bring yourself out the other way, transition out the other way. They'll send their first, try and get a dunk on you. Oh, and this is when Joyo disconnected. This was another famous moment. I've accidentally grabbed two huge moments from the tournament here in these two games that we've watched. And that's going to end it right there. Let's see how this one came to be. Off of the kickoff here. Archie with the delay is going to get a beat. Goes right over Rysfox. And Archie just gets a really simple one. Seemed like Saudade tried to send two. Oski popped it over both of them. Rysfox thought at least one of the two were going to get a touch on it. And it floats right over their head. Joyo, a very, very impactful 397 points here for his team. Only a save to his name, but those 5 shots, again, like we were talking about, look at the amount of shots. I mean, Saudade was bringing it right back to him in this game here, but they are not afraid to turn these games into track meets. And over the course of a series, they wear on you, and they end up beating you more times than they don't. It's tough to do this on the biggest stage because nerves can kind of add an extra little piece. And I feel like, in my experience watching Rocket League and traditional sports for that matter, the first thing that typically goes is your offense, especially in big moments when you're nervous. The small little nuances that go into the perfect air dribble, that go into excellent first touches, flip resets, passing plays, those things can kind of evaporate a little bit quicker than solid defense and solid rotations. Defense is probably the last thing to go. That seems to be kind of a common barrier, but even if Oxygen gets scored on, you know that they can just score on you in bunches. So Oxygen have a big day in front of them tomorrow. I'm pretty sure on the docket they have, let's see if I can remember, it's jobless, it's 100%, and there's somebody else threatening that they're playing as well that is escaping me right now. Maybe it's Luna Galaxy. I think it might be. So a big day 5 for them, which I believe tips tomorrow. Yes, correct. So going to be excited to see how Oxygen are able to close out this tournament. If you're an Oxygen fan, every team wants this, but you definitely want to win this one. This is a tournament where you can prove to yourself that this roster is impactful and is worth retaining and running back once again. Maybe they already kind of feel that confidence with this being kind of a newer roster, but certainly would be a big boost for them if they would be able to get over the hump in this tournament here. So excited to see how Oxygen are able to finish things out with none of the big dogs here like we were talking about. You really want to win this one. It'll be big for their confidence going into the long off season. So what do you guys think of this Oxygen squad? Do you think that they're going to be staying pat and keeping this 3 and roll into the next season? Or do you anticipate changes? If there were changes, who would you be interested in seeing them pick up? Let me know in the comments down below. Guys, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And until next time, guys, take it easy.